This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Brett, good to talk to you, man. Hawaii, huh? And how long you been back?
Well, I've been back a few days. I wish I could have stayed, but luckily I missed the terrible weather week, which was good. I got my 50th state. I got to enjoy a little bit of tropical weather and just kind of step away in the middle of not a lot going on, so it worked out wonderfully.
What does one do to celebrate visiting 50 out of 50 states?
Well, you stop planning on when you can get to your next one. It had been 14 years since I got to the Great Alaska Shootout and got Alaska, so I felt like I just waited too long to get to 50 when you're at 49. So I no longer have to think about it or plan it. I guess I move on to countries now, or more basketball arenas or football stadiums or something, I guess.
Did you get did you get some ahi tuna tacos? What was the highlight of the trip?
Well, I wanted to go to Pearl Harbor. I went over to the University of Hawaii, watched a basketball game, took in some baseball practice. I went to the Dole Pineapple Plantation, the
Nice.
North Shore. So, I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you what, Matt, they gave me a little Beamer convertible, and I popped down the top and was just tooling around Hawaii at an 80-degree night one night. And I thought, you know what, this isn't too bad. I could kind of get used to this if I had to do this every year or so.
Usually it's the Mustang convertible.
Brett's vacation
he got the upgrade right there.
It went up to 11.
Woo!
Well done. Well done. And then you come back and you get to watch Arkansas basketball,
Oh,
right?
my goodness.
Have fun with that. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
What else could you say?
We've been lost for where I have been. You try not to be so negative, and because I'm pulling for him, but it's a bad product. It's just that he missed, and the thing that hurts, I think, was the expectations and all the pundits, all the Arkansas got one of the best portal classes ever, top 5 portal class. Oh my goodness, picked to go to the Final Four, and then we're bad on both ends of the court.
Yes, and I was just looking at some numbers on a tweet a couple of moments ago, Matt, about Arkansas's numbers in SEC games only as far as shooting percentage, rebounding, points per game, which is about 60. And then what the opponents are doing, and quite honestly, you look at those numbers, it's a wonder you've won one game out of the SEC, the way they shake out, because you're like, well, this can't be. And you're 1,000% right. I think it was the expectations, and I bought into it. I was probably guilty of that as well. We watched this team. We watched what they've done in recent years, and we thought, man, if they could only shoot the ball better. And then we're looking at these guys coming in and think, well, they can shoot the ball better. And Tremont Mark left a program that'll probably be a 1 seed in Houston to come here, and, brings with him 4 years of experience. And these guys were 3-4 years into their college career rather than 1 year like Nick and Anthony and Jordan last year. But, it feels like the quandary we've gone through in recent weeks is as simple as we've seen this team get better in recent years, even when they haven't started great in SEC play. And our eyes are telling us that it's not going to get any better. But we held on to that belief for a while, and I think that kind of extended some of the pain because last night just wasn't right with injuries and whatnot. It was going to go south early once we realized that Mark wasn't going to play and Brazil wasn't right, and then more injuries occur and whatnot. And I don't know what it would have looked like with all of those guys healthy, but right now, this team is still searching at a time in recent years where they were finding a lot of answers.
I don't want to further the conversation too much here on the men's basketball team. We got a women's game tonight. I'm assuming you're on the call. It's on ESPN Plus. And the difference here between the men and the women is sometimes will play 12 or 13. There aren't 13 players on the women's team right now because of injuries, and I don't think you're getting Talia Scott back. She just got back to practice. Sailor Poffenbarger has been really limited because of her right leg and the shin. I wonder if they might look to rest her soon because she can only play 14 minutes against LSU, and you need her in February. So, on Mike's side of things, on the women's side of basketball here, you got a team they're playing hard, Brett, but I don't know if they've got the woman power right now.
No, when you think about that TCU story, when they got down to 4 players and had to forfeit a couple of games that counted in league standings, it didn't count to their overall record. They were so shorthanded. They actually got a few walk-ons and whatnot and won a game the other day. But it's just so hard to play with 4, 5, or 6, or 7. And I just came from Kentucky shoot-around 2 minutes before you guys called, and they're planning and preparing for Sailor and Talia, and I'm shaking my head like, I don't think either one is going to be out there tonight, which is only going to make things harder. There's just no margin for error, and it means foul trouble or injuries like the men's team suffered last night. It also means, you have to do something. You got to make some shots. You got to get a break. You got to find one or make one. And it just really makes it tough because you go in almost feeling like you're in a boxing match with one hand tied behind your back.
All right, so baseball's supposed to give us all, a respite from what's been a pretty rough few months for the money-making programs at the University of Arkansas. Baseball, Dave had a presser today. I know you were in on that listening. They start working out tomorrow, 2:00. Now, one of the things that I want to see this season is something that you just won't see very much early in the season. You got great starting pitching. But I do wonder about Hagan and Brady Tigert and their ability to utilize their stuff and their amazing talent for 6 to 7 innings each time they go out. That's the thing about Hagan Smith. Like, he'll get drafted high no matter what, because as long as he's healthy, because his stuff is amazing. Same with Tigert. Can you do that for 6 innings? I think that this team needs that. They have bullpen depth, but they need the starters to go deeper. Molina, I think, is the only one of the three weekend starters that we know we expect to be in there in the weekend that has done exactly that. He just did that at Texas Tech.
I won't argue with you. I would say, Phil, I thought you were going in a different direction, that you wanted to see these guys maybe go a little bit slower in the first month and build up rather than kind of be ready to throw more innings early. And baseball is such a weird schedule. It's unlike football where you play some of your weaker opponents first and then you work at a conference, because they've got a weekend in Arlington where they're playing some top-tier teams, and that's the second weekend right out of the gates. And sometimes you feel like, you want to put your best performance forward when there's scouts and there's people paying attention on television and listening on radio and whatnot, or there's 15,000 in Arlington and you want to give your best performance. But I'd be quite happy, I don't know about you, just to get through that first couple of weeks with the 3 starters intact and not to have one go down, because this program, what they've accomplished while losing a big-time starter, has been amazing in recent years. And I feel like there's more depth and there's more young arms that are quality pitchers. We haven't seen them, obviously, yet, other than some fall scrimmages and whatnot. But if you're right, if these starters, if Brady's healthy and Hagan Smith and Molina is as good as advertised, and these guys are 5, 6, 7 inning guys by March, then this bullpen can provide some pieces. My goodness, the sky's the limit. You hate to get too carried away. We just talked about the expectations we all kind of put on men's basketball. But didn't you feel like today, Phil, that Dave had kind of a quiet confidence talking about his team, and there was a satisfaction level that was more than a curiosity at this point?
Absolutely. I think that's what he displayed. And part of it is because you feel like you got known quantities as far as your starting pitchers are concerned. And I'm not sure if you had that feeling last year to a point. Now, you might have misunderstood me a little. I don't expect – they're not going to go 5, 6 innings to 7 innings that first month. It's once you get into the SEC that you got to be built up for that. That's what makes that first month so interesting, I think, for this team this year, is there will be a chance that first weekend, James Madison. And certainly that second weekend, when you're playing Michigan and Oklahoma State and Oregon State, and then just after that for some of the pitchers to, the younger pitchers, some of the freshmen that we've talked about, to kind of show that they're ready to get the ball, in mid-March when Mizzou comes into town, or when you go to Auburn for the first road series. But by then, it's only by then that I feel like you need to trust that Hagan can give you 6 innings, because that didn't happen very much last year.
No, you're right. And then, it only takes one starter not being able to give you a quality 5, 6, 7 innings in an SEC weekend where it really sets you back. And there were times last year where it felt like, you're down to like 4 or 5 people, and I call it the circle of trust. There aren't a whole lot of pitchers once you get deep in the year that are outside that circle of trust that you're going to throw into key innings. But if you have a guy that can't get you into the 4th or 5th, or has a rare day where he gets bumped early, it just throws everything out of whack. And I think we felt like we got to that a couple of times, whether it was the Kevin Kopp's year or even last year. You get to the end, and whether it's a regional where you're having to play 3 or 4 games in a day, if there's one thing that throws you a little bit off that path as far as innings, it's really hard to find enough people to piece them together. And I'm really curious. That's why these freshmen that Dave talks about, whether it's Gackle or, Dietz when he gets healthy, can these guys be serious contributors to where you could easily throw them in a midweek game and have no problems, or could you even pitch them in the 6th or 7th inning of a Sunday game in the SEC. And I think we're going to see a lot of these young guys. And I think if they're as good as advertised, it's only going to make this team a more formidable opponent to really get deep this year, get to the College World Series, and who knows after that.
Brett, I loved last weekend watching the football. NFL playoffs it's right up my alley. And then you get one more dose, this AFC NFC championship game before the Super Bowl. I absolutely like these matchups. I think we're going to get some great theater. Now, the first two rounds, we've had one road team win each of the first two rounds. What do you think? Can any of these road teams win, or do you think chalk goes to the Super Bowl?
It's tough, but I guess I would take Detroit as a possibility of a road team winning, and only because I felt like, Matt, Green Bay should have won that game. I felt like they let it slip away, and whether it was a couple of throws Jordan Love made, Carlson had a aborted attempt on the field goal and just didn't look right from the get-go. Dre Greenlaw was obviously a factor in that as well, causing a lot of havoc against the Packers. I'm going to ride the Lions, and you know, I'd probably get a couple of points if I was the guy that put a few bucks down on that. But it just felt like maybe the 49ers are playing on a weekend they shouldn't be. But I'll say this about the Chiefs as well. They remind me again of the Houston Astros, because that was a team that didn't have the same regular season as years past. And you think, well, they've taken a step back and they aren't as good. But you get them into the postseason, and there's that postseason confidence that they have that other teams don't. Clearly, Buffalo doesn't have it. And you still have to go out and slay the dragon. And I'll take probably Baltimore if I had to make a pick, but it wouldn't shock me, and I don't think it'd shock anybody if the Chiefs won. But I'll take the Lions just to see if they might be able to finally get a win in that Iowa tight end battle, whether it's Kittle or Laporta that can have a bigger game to help their team get a win.
Brett, you've done all 50 states. Now you got to do all the provinces in Canada and whatever I think it's called states in Mexico, okay? That's your assignment.
Okay, I'll get on it. I'll start planning my itinerary.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.